So welcome back to the final intermediate Saturday sampler block here at Close to Home in Southington. You will have until December 31st to pick up December's block free when you bring in November's finished block. Also, our 12 Days of Christmas sale is in full swing now until December 16th. So in lieu of the Finish the Bolt table, we do have a 50% off table Friday and Saturday, December 8th and 9th only for you to come in and look at. They are pre-cuts. They're 10-inch layer cakes, jelly rolls, 5-inch squares, and some quilt kit that are already put together. Okay. When you pick up your December kit, now's the time to begin to sign up for next year's block of the month. There will be a little bit of a change. There's going to be a $25 registration fee cost for your first kit. Okay, if you are late picking up your block or forget to bring in your block, the kit will be, the fee will be $10 still. Okay, so it's only the one time January. See, even if you started in March, it's going to be $25 for the March. If you want to go back and pick up January, February, those are $10 each, etc., etc. So sign up so we can get our January kits cut for the new year. So the rulers today are the Cat's Cradle ruler, which we have used in the past, and it's also the Easy Tri-Rex ruler, which is 2 parts. It is the triangle, says the Tri tool, and hopefully you'll find the other part, which is the Rex tool, which goes on either side, and it's going to be a triangle and a square. And just a very basic cat's cradle, which is nice because you can cut all these angles for the cat's cradle block with just by cutting squares and rectangles, which is really great. So we're going to make 4 triangle and squares, 4 cat's cradle units, and of course our center square, which I wrote the directions, the cutting on the directions, but I didn't really put it on my board. So let's look at the board for the cutting. The brown is a 3 3/4 strip, and each of those gets cut into a 2 3/4 inch rectangle. The purple is going to be 10 inches, kind of not quite to scale, sorry, but you're going to have a 6-inch and then 2 pieces that are 5 by 6. And the blue, instead of having a long strip, it is a square, so basically just cut the square into 4 equal 2 3/4 inch squares. Pretty easy. And the cream and turquoise, those are for our Tri-Rex. They get cut 4 1/2 inch all the way the entire length of the strip. Okay, so let's do the Tri-Rex real fast. I know we've done this in the past. When we use the Tri tool to cut our triangles, it's important to know that if I want my triangle and square unit to end to finish at 4 inches, just like December's block, I need to cut my strip a 1/2 inch bigger. So what I've done is gone ahead and cut my strip, the teal, which is my triangle shapes, to 4 1/2 inches. Okay, so basically it has a little blunt edge at the top of the ruler. Of course, it's upside down for you guys, and I apologize, but the blunt side is at the top of my strip, and this solid black line where it says 4 1/2 is right at the bottom of the strip. So what we're going to do is push this over as far as we can and start cutting 4 of these shapes. Okay, so here's one. I'm just going to rotate it, cut another one, rotate it, another. Again, every time I'm just lining up the edge I just cut with the ruler, and one more. So you see you have plenty of fabric to work with. And there we are. And that's it for the Tri tool. The Rex tool is a little bit different because we need both a left and a reverse right. We're going to take our 4.5-inch strip and fold it in half. Okay, so this one I haven't cut to 4.5 inches, so I'm just going to show you real fast. I'll cut it, fold it in half. I'm going to take my ruler, and along this fold on any of these lines going across my ruler, it doesn't matter, I just want to bring this line to the fold so I have a nice straight strip. I'm going to just keep it folded. I'm just going to clean up one edge, and then I'm going to trim it to 4.5. And this holds true with any size strip that you have that you need to cut. Just line it up with the fold, and then when you open your strip, it should be perfect. But this one, because I need both a lefty and a righty, I'm going to just leave it folded. All right, and again, it doesn't matter if you fold wrong sides together or right sides together, but much like the Tri tool, the Rex, the blunt side is at the top of my strip, the 4.5-inch marking goes along the bottom of my strip, and I'm just going to cut my first angle and of course the straight edge down this side. But there's one more small little thing that we need to cut, and oh boy, here we go. Okay. There is a little notch on the edge of this. So you see this is straight, I have another straight edge, the top is straight, and then this side. So what I need to do is just put my ruler right along that little mark right here and just trim away that notch. Okay. And then we're going to rotate our Rex tool. The 4.5 line goes along there. The same angle I just cut along my ruler. Another pair and what? The notch. All right, so make sure we cut that notch off. So again, you're just going to keep rotating this, cutting the notch, rotating, cutting the notch, and you should have 4 pairs. All right, so let's go ahead and make a triangle and a square. I'm going to just line all my triangles and my Rex up together. I've cut 4 of these, but I didn't cut enough of those, which is fine. So I typically start on the right side, but it doesn't matter if you wanted to put the left side on or not. So remember that notch that was at the bottom or at the point of our Rex? So when I put these two together, that line that notched lines up with the bottom of my triangle. So I'm just going to place this right here where it's even with the side, and this is even with the bottom. And we're going to let this side hang off a little bit. All right, so let's go over to our sewing machine. I'll give this, oops, it kind of shifted on me, hold on. You can pin it if you'd like. I'm just going to hold it in place. When you get to the bottom where the notch is, you want to notice that where it's flat, where we cut that notch, your 1/4 inch is going to hit right at this point right here. So we can just go ahead and feed that through. It's going to come right out at the notch. All right, so we're going to do all 4 of these, and we're going to push them all the way, press them toward the triangle. All right, so let me go ahead and do that. Nice hot iron. Okay, so here we are. Now I'm going to take my left one, and it's going to do the same thing. When I bring the left side over my 2 dog ears are going to line up at the top, and the bottom of my Rex that I trimmed, that little notch, is going to line straight up flat with the bottom of my triangle. All right. Now, I tried sewing from this side, and a couple times it got a little stuck in the sewing machine, so I like to start sewing from this angle here. Now, my 1/4 inch foot, I can sew from either side a 1/4 inch. It's a Bernina number 37 foot, but if you have the guide or anything like that, what we're going to do is we're just going to flip this over so that now I can sew and my 1/4 inch is along the right hand side. So we'll go ahead and do that. Oops. And I got these new scissors in. Might as well show you. These are great little thread snips. They're called embroidery scissors, snips, but they're very sharp and they work really, really well for threads. Okay. All right, so again, when we start sewing, that thread is going to start right in that little valley where the dog ears come out of the other piece. So right here you can see in this valley my 1/4 inch, okay? Oops, right here. All right, and that's it. And now we just again press this toward the triangle, the Rex, not the teal, but we're pressing away toward the to the rectangles. All right. That's it for those. Those are 4.5 inch unfinished, and they should be 4 inch when we're done sewing them into our block. Okay. The cat's cradle, another very simple tool. I've gone ahead and cut everything. I'm just going to make, of course they all fell on the floor. Okay, hi. All right, so we're going to take our brown, I believe it's 3 3/4 by 2 3/4, and my my blue 2 3/4 square. I'm going to line them up at the ends of my rectangles, and we're just going to sew them and add them to the edge. Okay. So I'll do 2 just to, because this is going to make all 4. So I'm just going to do 2 of these so we can sew them together. So the first thing we want to do is add our square pieces to the ends of the rectangle. And then we're going to press toward the ground, keeping our square nice and flat and open. Okay. So we're going to press these this way. I want my square to remain, I guess, open and not the seam towards it. So we're going to press away from the square toward the rectangle, and we're going to sew these 2 together. So there's one, a little bit of heat, keep it on there, and now I have these 2 units, and what I'm going to do is turn them opposite each other. So I have one square at the bottom going one way and one to the other direction. And again, it doesn't matter if this one, you know, just as long as they're on either sides. Then we're going to go ahead and sew that at 1/4. Please don't flip your seams. Keep them nice and flat. Match your ends. Keep your seams nice and flat, and just sew your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay. So we want to be able to, again, see this square. So when we open up to press, I want to be able to press my square toward the brown, and again my square toward the brown, but you see we have a little bit of an issue right here. So we're going to trim into that 1/4 inch seam allowance right between the two pieces, and then that'll lay flat for us. So we'll go over to the ironing board and give this a nice press. Again, we want to press this toward the brown, keeping that square as flat as possible. Okay, and then this one is going to go in this direction. Okay, now let's go use the ruler. Where it says, there's lots of writing on the ruler. So in this particular one, you see this mark your sewing lines here and place on seam line. So this solid black line that goes right to the edge of the ruler is going to be put right along the seam line, and that point is going to go right at the point. It's very hard to see. Maybe I could draw this a little bit better so you see it, but you'll see my corner of my block. So I'm going to place on seam line. That's what I just sewed. And now when I draw, I'm marking my sewing line along this diagonal. And it intersects right at the point of my corner. Okay, so here's my seam allowance, here's where I'm sewing. I'll do it again. Line this up. And then go ahead and draw my line. And again, this is marking my sewing line. So we're going to take our purple square, which was 5 by 6, lay it right side together with the one we just marked, and we're going to sew on the lines, always intersecting right here at this point, because once I hit that point, I'm going to have a really nice, I'm not going to be cutting that corner off at all. Okay, so let's go sew, and then we'll trim. Almost done, 2 more steps. Okay, so hold these together, follow right on the line. Of course, you'll have another one to do, so if you wanted to chain the next one, that's fine. I'm just going to kind of flip this around and start my next row. Watch right on the line. Okay. Go ahead and trim these. All right, one more marking on the ruler. We've already taken care of this side of it where we're marking our sewing lines. Now you'll notice that I have 2 sides that say 1/4 inch seam allowance along them. So I'm going to place the black line of my seam allowance on the line I just sewed, giving me my 1/4 inch seam allowance. And go ahead and trim this apart. All right, so I place the black line. I have my 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to do the same for this one. Look for my 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to lay the black line on my ruler right on my seam line, and I'm going to go ahead and trim up a 1/4 inch seam. Not much to play with, but that's okay. All right, so now we're going to press these toward the large triangle, or the purple in this case. Let's go over here to the iron. Catch it on this side. Make sure you didn't fold over any of your seams. Nice and flat. And push it and hold it. See how it got really nice and close there? By placing it on the ruler right in the right spot and drawing your line, you're going to intersect that little corner. All right, and the last thing to do is trim these to size. Now remember, these are 4-inch finished, so what we're going to do is look for this last corner on my ruler where it says trim to size, right here, and when I'm looking at the 4-inch, the very last outside black line. And I'm also going to be using these dashed lines going at the intersection of that black line right here at that point. If I were making other sizes, they would intersect at each of those points. But I'm looking at the very bottom one and the very outside 4-inch. So the first thing I want to do is place that blue square on the seam line with that outside black line. I want to make sure that my dash line is right even with my seam. You see how that goes straight across here? And this intersects right here at the 4-inch. Oops. Okay, so let's go ahead and trim that. Almost done. I'm going to spin it around. I'm going to keep my ruler where it is, but I'm going to spin this. And now this block goes onto the purple side. Again, looking at that dashed line where the 4-inch was, and that black line is just touching the corner of my blue square. That dashed line going down my ruler is intersecting right with the corner, my 90-degree corner that I just trimmed. So I'd say it's pretty good to trim. I've checked this, I've checked this. This is touching that point, looks good. So go ahead and trim again. Okay, so there is our cat's cradle block. Okay. So, get ready for next year. It's going to be fun. It's going to be bright. I think you're going to love the fabrics. I have a great setting for it. That's about all I can give away right now. But I'll see you when you pick up your kits. Thanks for watching.